Know why gays are such good dressers?
Why?
You spend 20 years in the closet.
Hey, somebody asked me, they go, hey, what do you think of reggae marriage? I said, it's all good. Yeah, man.
Broadcasting live from the John Lovitz Comedy Theater in Universal Studios Hollywood, this is the Dick and Darren Comedy Podcast. My name's Dangerous Dick.
I'm Darren Carter. Hashtag real talk. We hit the biting issues.
Dick.
And
Darren Carter
Comedy Podcast.
Get your jollies.
Gong. Thanks for tuning in and downloading our podcast, whether you're getting it from iTunes or from the GoCast Network or from our very old website, which we don't even use anymore, which is dickpodcast.com. Thank you very much. We're
Is there
also on
anything
Stitcher
special?
Radio.
Is there anything special at dickpodcast.com?
There is. There's a tip button, which I can't even find. It's so well hidden on there, but it's in the upper right-hand corner on dickpodcast.com if you'd like to leave us a tip. It's
Just
all
the
very
tip.
secure.
Just give us just the tip.
It goes through PayPal. God, I haven't checked that thing in months, but I know it still works. So anyway, good to have you along. Make sure you do us a huge favor. Go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast. I can't tell you how big of a deal that is for us. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't get anything but our show sent to your device, whatever you listen to it on, directly. So do us a huge favor and subscribe.
Couple of shout-outs real quick. We got Lana Turner and Ralphie May did our podcast recently. Great response from that. And one of them was kind of funny. This blind lady tweeted, no offense. No, she wrote, Ralphie, is Ralphie a girl or a boy? And she goes, no offense, I'm blind.
Oh, you couldn't tell from his voice?
I guess not. I could.
He's got a really scratchy voice.
Yeah, it's like, I know, it's weird. It was weird. But she was totally serious in that. Because her next tweet was, no offense, I'm blind, I can't tell. And
well, thanks for listening. That's our second blind listener.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
She probably watches it on Ustream, which is weird.
Yeah.
We are live on Ustream. You can see our ugly mugs.
We got a great response, too, from the previous one with Rosie Tran. That was the one where we talked about the Super Bowl and all the cool commercials and whatnot. You know?
Yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah.
Hey, you know what
we
I
have
saw?
over 200 great episodes. Make sure you go back through the
Dick,
catalog.
I got to tell you this before we get into our guest. I recently saw, and I'd never seen it, an IMAX film. Yesterday I saw it, Top Gun.
You saw Top Gun in IMAX?
For the very first time.
Where?
In Sacramento, California.
That's tremendously gay, by the way.
You know what's
Top
funny?
Gun in IMAX?
Yeah. It was funny because it's like after the show, like these two girls were dressed alike, and they had driven all the way from Reno to go watch this movie. And she said her name is Maverick. She goes, I've been Maverick since I was 16.
And the other one's Goose.
Yeah, I guess. You know.
Nice.
It was really weird to see like a super mega popular movie, like, you know, almost 20 years after it comes. Actually, over 20 years.
Yeah.
It came out in '86. I'd never seen it.
Darren doesn't watch movies. That's the thing. Let's introduce our guest so he can speak.
Okay, sure.
This is Greg Dean here. Greg, you've seen Top Gun, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I get out in public.
But Darren doesn't watch TV or movies, ever. He's in TV and movies, but he doesn't watch them.
What are you, Amish?
Yeah.
So he'll get all excited.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I just saw Top Gun. I'm like, really? It's 2013. People have died if they were in that thing of old age.
Have they really? Maybe they have.
See Casablanca. It's great.
Yeah. I never saw it.
Yeah.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Is that what that is?
No.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Gone with the Wind.
Oh. No, Humphrey Bogart.
Very good.
It is
Yeah.
Humphrey Bogart.
No, why I'm confusing it is because Woody Allen wrote a play called Play It Again, Sam?
Right.
Yeah, and he would do the, see, and we do the Humphrey Bogart thing.
That's Edward G. Robinson.
I'm confusing it all. But Top Gun was great. Like, it was funny because I went with two friends. One, the guy on the right, he had seen it like a million times. He loved it. He knows the quotes. He's all about Top Gun. And the guy on the left, he also had never seen it. And unbeknownst to me, he thought it was completely cheesy and lame, and he wasn't feeling it at all. But I didn't know. I thought he was being facetious because at one point, as the movie was ending, about 10 minutes in, he goes, I fucking hate this movie. And I thought it meant, I thought he meant because it was stirring up emotions in him. Like it was making him, because I was like, I fucking know what you mean, bro. Like I was crying because when Goose I didn't know Goose was going to die. And
Yeah.
if I would have saw it when I was 16 or whatever, it wouldn't have meant as much. But now, you're a dad, you're a parent, you're a kid, and just picturing, like how he's a father and he has a son and now he's gone. It was like, it hit me emotionally. And then the music comes on. Whoa, 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 whoa. How is the music again?
It's
You make that sound like a porn soundtrack.
No, what's the other?
into the danger zone. moon.
Oh yeah, no, the other one, the bom 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 bom.
Bum, 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 bum,
No. This is the love, the romance one.
Oh, that's Berlin.
How's that go?
It's Berlin.
Is it Berlin? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe our
Berlin
board
sings
guy
the
can look it up.
love song. Look
Yeah,
for
you wanna play
Berlin.
it? What are you looking up? You got
Look
a
for
little-
Top Gun Berlin.
Top Gun.
Just pop that up.
Now,
whatever it is.
personally, I just loved Kelly McGillis.
Dude,
She
that
knows,
blew me
you
away.
know?
Kelly-
She makes me moist.
So, Greg, now you see how we maintain our top spot here at the GoCast Network. It's by discussing movies that are 25 years old.
I got.
Nice strategy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what blew me away. I have not. My only experience with Kelly McGillis
Yes.
Yes.
was that movie. So I'm like, she was like the hottie, and Tom Cruise makes out with her, and they fall in love. So I pull it up just like Dick. When I go to Wikipedia or IMDb or whatever after the show, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're up to now. And I looked her up. I was shocked. I mean, I know it was 1980s. Have you seen her now,
She probably looks pretty rough.
dude? Yes. Yes. I mean, not to be like that, but
And
yes.
yet Tom Cruise looks better.
He looks the same, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Yeah, he's taller.
Yeah, he's taller. You know what's funny is even what's his name, Val Kilmer. Everyone's like, he's fat. He's not really fat. He just isn't that He's just not that lean teenager
Yeah,
anymore.
But he
or
is
whatever.
fat. He went through a really fat stage.
Maybe he did. Yeah.
And he's had a lot of failures too. Somebody said this today on another podcast here at GoCast. They said being an actor in Hollywood is going from failure to failure, because if you're on a show that works, you stay there forever, right? And then when that show fails, then you go to the next one until it fails. And that was a really good way of looking at it. It kind of cheered me up. I was like, wow, I've been fired a lot. I've had a lot of failures, but then that's just part of the business.
It is.
So yeah, that made me feel good. Now, why were they showing Top Gun in IMAX?
I don't know. I guess it's been re-released. It's out there.
Did it make you want to join the military?
I
Because
thought-
the military, they got lots of people joining after that.
I thought
became
that.
a
I
thing.
thought, especially after they do the spoiler alert, but like the last, they do like this.
It's
They
a
kicks it
20-year-old
on
movie.
Yeah. After they do that dogfight at the end and they kill the bad guys over the Indian Ocean, you know, and all the guys are like, yeah, they're all heroes. I'm like, man, there should be recruiters out there in the lobby, you know, because we're all like, yeah. Sure enough, there used to be recruiters in the lobby, you know, and not only for that, but even for underwear. Like after that volleyball scene, you're like, yeah, I need to get those kind of underwears. You know?
Is that your favorite part, the volleyball scene?
Oh, you know it, bud.
Now, you've heard all the
No.
references about Top Gun, about how it's just all a big gay movie.
Yeah, like because I was saying that I was going to go, and people are like, "That movie's so homoerotic," and I'm like, "Really?" And then, of course, if you look at it through those eyes, you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, it's the
I mean, these guys
volleyball, and
they're riding rockets between their legs, basically, and they're
Oh.
playing volleyball in short shorts and no shirt. Then there's a scene in the locker room where they're naked except for towels. And they're patting each other on the butt.
And singing YMCA.
yeah, I mean, but whatever. I enjoyed the movie. It's a great movie. Great
Yeah.
soundtrack too.
It's kind of cool. It reminds you of like that's how the clothing style was too back then. You're like, like jeans, a t-shirt, and like everyone was riding those motorcycles back then, and wore the Varney sunglasses or whatever it was, Ray-Ban, with like the guys getting that like where they get
Cuts.
sunburned. They get sunburned, but then like they get like that white streak right there where their sunglasses are.
Yeah.
Like you don't really see that as much as you used to, huh?
No.
Maybe
Did you
'cause there's more
recognize
sunblock.
the locations? It's shot in San Diego.
Yes, I did. That's what was weird too, because I'm like, dude, I've been on those streets. I know I've been to
Yeah.
that. I know
I've
that,
been to Miramar, where the Top Gun was.
Yeah, been to Miramar. Been
and
to
that's
that
a real thing that existed.
San Diego Airport. And then
It doesn't exist anymore. The Navy gave it up to the Marines. It's a Marine base now. It used to be Navy,
Wow.
and they gave it up. And that was where they trained the Navy fighter pilots. It's a real thing.
How they?
You see, when you live in San Diego, you see those guys screaming over in those jets all the time. And I always used to think, I'm not very patriotic. I mean, I love America and everything, but it seems like there's a lot of waste. And San Diego is a big military training, so you're always seeing helicopters flying everywhere and aircraft carriers going around the circles. And they have landing craft that look like they're like little floating tanks. You see them out in the ocean going around the circles all the time. They're training these guys. And I used to live in an area in Kearny Mesa in San Diego, which is right down the way from Miramar where Top Gun was. And every time one of those jets took off, it screamed over my house. And I would just be like, I wonder how much money there's going out the tail of that thing right now in jet fuel, I used to think that every time. But anyway, good luck to those guys, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's get to our guest right now. I'm super excited. I'm so glad you're here.
Do I look okay?
You look great. You look better than me. Greg Dean, comedian, author, lecturer, and other stuff, I imagine, is here. And I'm holding up this book. I own this book. I bought this book in a bookstore, which is hard to find nowadays.
It is. There's only one left, is Barnes & Noble, and
Now, this one's been out for a while, right?
Yeah.
What I'm holding up is a green book. It's called Greg Dean's Step by Step to Stand-Up Comedy. I bought this forward. Yeah, I bought this forward by Stephen Allen. I bought it. Well, how many years ago did this come out? I bought it a long time ago.
2000.
2000?
Turn of the millennium.
Okay, so I'm sure I bought this because I know I own it. I don't think I read it. I'm sorry, but what I do.
Well, you
is,
have to be literate.
What I do is I buy books and I'm like, oh, I want this so bad, I can't wait to read this, and then I never read them. And I probably have about 20 books about stand-up comedy, and I know I own this one.
I
so.
make a living from people like you.
Did you write another one besides that?
Well, I've got several, and we're getting ready to put them up on Lulu.com because publishing and putting books out now is the whole world's changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've got a digital download. I mean, an ebook of it now and an audio book. I actually did the reading of it.
Oh, okay.
With a lot of different voices and stuff, and I learned never to do that again.
Really?
I can't read out loud very well. I'm a little dyslexic.
I wonder if that's why people do that. Like authors have professional actors that's what they love to do, and that's what they're good at doing that.
I'd
Yeah,
love
yeah,
to do
they-
that. Let's try it right now.
Dick is a really good. He's
What's
got
a
great
good
voice.
What's a good subject? What's a good page?
Just flip, find a secret, and go from there.
A secret? Okay, quote. Here, this is page 56. Quote whenever possible. In a sense, this falls under one of the primary rules for all good fiction writing. Show, don't tell. For our purposes, it means when writing out a joke that involves a scene or a bit of dialogue, quote yourself as well as any characters. This sets the stage for you to play yourself and become the character in the scene. Now, this is great. God damn, I wish I'd read this 13 years ago. It would have helped me a lot.
Because it also brings it into the present, too. I mean, see, whenever you do a little act out between a character and you inside the scene,
Right.
for the audience, it's present. It's happening now like you're watching TV. Whereas, if you describe it from what I call narrator, where you just tell people what the quotes, what everybody said.
Yeah.
It's not as powerful of a live performance piece because you bring it into the present. The audience is there with you, and the insults are more impactful because for them it's like somebody saying something to somebody else.
I want to tell you so. I want to hear your opinion on this. This is something I thought of, and it took me 15 years of doing stand-up to figure it out. And because I could never figure out why certain things worked always. Like impressions almost always work, and characters almost always work. Darren does a lot of impressions and characters.
I've seen a show.
He does a lot of act outs, and I think maybe it was from watching Darren that I finally put it together. It's the audience really likes characters and character voices, and it doesn't even have to be a different voice than the one you're using. It's just you portraying another person, and you're on stage doing both characters at the same time. Pretty much what I just read.
Yep.
And it tickles them in a way, and that's the same thing that it tickles the audiences into laughing that impressions do, and all these other things. That's why impressions always seem to work so good, is because people love that. And when I look back at who's considered to be two of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time, you got Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, and both of those guys did all character voices.
Act outs,
yeah. Act outs. Eddie Murphy he does crazy characters, and he took that over into his movies. But when I went back if you go back and you watch old Richard Pryor videos, he does the setup in his voice,
right,
and then the punchline is in Doug like this, he does some kind of character voice for the punchline, and it always works. And he does it, and then he does an extended act out.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, no, his stuff is really amazing. He's like the model for everybody. And you're right, he sets it up, and then he goes out and plays all the different parts. My favorite piece he did was the crack pipe scene. Okay, and when he played the crack pipe was a white guy. Right, it was going, "Come on in, Richard, we'll take it." Wasn't a black voice. One of my calls about the difference between like amateur comedians and professionals. People have been in it for a while. Professionals, when they do what I call character POVs, points of view, inside their show, they do complete characters. I mean, Richard Pryor just do one line, but the character would be so vivid, like the joke about when he was shooting Stir Crazy, and he was there with Gene Wilder, and he's he's in a prison, and he finds, he's talking to one prisoner and says, "Why did you kill everybody and your whole family?" And he said, "They was home." Right, that
day was home, all of a sudden you see this entire character of a guy and his family and the dysfunction. You know, it's like one line and you get this world. That's what made him so good, is he'd capture those people and portray them so completely, even in a moment, and that's why he was so amazing.
Yeah. I was watching Richard Pryor last night, and it was a bit about where he had these big dogs. He bought these dogs. One was a Great Dane, and he even did the voice of the dogs. Right. You know, he'd be like, yeah, this dog came over. He's like, I'm going to fuck him. I'm going to fuck that. You know, he had a black voice for whatever the dog was, and then he would act like the dogs humping each other, and he went into a big bit about dogs getting locked up when they're having sex on the street, and he acts all that out. And I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, here's one of the biggest stars in comedy,
Right.
Huge movie star, multi-millionaire, and he's on stage in front of all these people acting like a dog humping, and it's killing. And it just took me a long time to figure out how he did that. I remember when I first got into stand-up, I wanted to do like Richard Pryor was doing,
Right.
and I just couldn't figure it out. Because when you start, this is how I went into it.
Did you try the crack?
My first stand up, there was going to be the first time I ever did stand up, I was 20, and there was going to be a comedy competition that night. I heard it on the radio, and I had a job where I was making minimum wage, $3.25 an hour, loading lumber in Kentucky. And I thought, as I'm loading lumber all day, I thought of what the story I was going to tell, and it was going to be like Richard Pryor stories. And then I got up there on stage, and that went right out the window. You can't be a beginner and be Richard Pryor. Yeah. And I did comedy. And for a long time, my comedy was just jokes, set up, punch,
Right.
no act outs, no characters. And then I started hanging out with Darren. I learn a lot from Darren every time I watch him.
Yeah, he has great technique. I saw his show at
Thank you.
Rooster Teeth Feathers in San Jose. My wife was featuring there with him, so I'm, short jaunts like that, I go along with her, Gayla Johnson. And I watched his show and went, wow, man, look at, I track technique. Because that's the difference between me and other comedy teachers. I only teach technique. I teach a skill and then say, okay, now once you kind of getting good at the skill, go out and practice it. You got to practice it to get better at it. For me, there's a separation between what I call the craft of comedy. I could teach you the craft. I could teach you these techniques. I could teach you these tricks. The art of being funny can only be learned in front of an audience. It's you going out and trial and error and lots of experience. Can't be learned any other way. But I've seen people get better and better and better at it. And you get better faster, like with anything, with good, solid technique. You can be out practicing the wrong things, or you can be out there practicing the correct things and getting better at them instead of getting better at bad technique, which I see all the time, people just defeating their own shows.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a little bit about your workshop. I taught a little comedy workshop of my own. It was just for very beginners because I felt at that time that I was qualified to teach them the basics of how to do it. If you were already doing it, you wouldn't have wanted to take my class because there wasn't much I could tell you.
That's funny. You're good at teaching the basics to beginners. All right, the bathroom's that way, the bar's that way, the stage is up there.
But you know what? There is a lot of stupid little directions like that. Like
I'll tell
one
you
of the
what,
first things I would tell them is how to take the mic stand.
I was
and
going to
move
say
it.
that.
Yeah, I teach that. You bet. And
Yeah.
I think I'm the only teacher in town that actually takes the students and say, no, hold the mic this way, stop eating it, put it here, let me see your face here, put it behind you, bring it forward, know when you're going to bring it forward and plan that in your show, or when you're going to end your show. I actually run mic technique is almost
important.
always good in my shows.
Because if the mic technique is bad, especially right off the bat, man, you're gonna bomb. It's like the very first time I ever did stand up comedy, the mic stand was a 3-prong kind of mic stand. So it was more for music. So when you pick it up,
Oh, those are the worst.
yeah, the whole thing would collapse.
Oh, those are the
Right,
worst.
right.
So
And then you can't put it back down.
Yeah, it's almost like a bird's foot. You couldn't really just. And then also the mic, it looked like a chip clip. Like it was kind of clipped in there like a potato chip clip. And I pulled it out and it snapped onto the cord. And I'm like, oh, and so I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do. And so I well, let me just move this whole thing. And then of course the legs collapsed. And then I was like, so people were laughing at that. And then the MC was a guy in a wheelchair, so he had to like roll back out there. And he's like, give me that. And he does it for me and he goes, Jesus. And he hands it back. And I was like, oh.
Another guy in his wheelchair is like, let him do it himself. He's got to learn.
The bitter guy in the back. And I remember, like, at the time, I was able to do overnights on the radio, and in radio they said, we don't want any dead air. So I thought, oh, maybe the same thing applies to stand-up. So don't let there be any dead air, which is not what you want to do.
No.
So the entire time this was happening, I'm talking a mile a minute like I'm Robin Williams. And it was just, I go, oh, yeah, okay, the mic's stuck. Somebody help me. Oh, the mic cord. Oh, boy. And I'm sure I was just super annoying, not funny. And luckily, I learned how to use a microphone.
I used to have one of those in my classes for that very reason, and unscrew the bottom of it so somebody would pick it up. And yeah. I
These
think
things will happen to you.
the more mistakes I can make people make in my class and look like an idiot, the fewer they will make out in public.
Well, real quick, first of all, you are like our modern day Robin Williams now, Darren. Darren really is. He's amazing on stage, huge energy, and you do a lot of characters, which is what Robin Williams, that's all he does is characters.
Yeah.
In the moment, too. That's another thing about being in the moment and stuff. But anyway, before we get off that, I want to talk about the mic stand real quick. For those of you that don't do stand-up, the mic stand, if you don't know how to do it, and after you've done comedy a week, it's like second nature. But for the very beginner, you'll see them take the mic out of the stand and then leave the stand in the middle of the stage in front of them, and it's just a signal to the audience, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And the audience loses confidence in you, and they stop listening, and they don't laugh.
Or they stand on one side of it and only play to one half of the audience because it cuts the stage. And I actually had a student one time, didn't listen to me, took the mic out of the stand. He was a short guy, stood right behind it, and did his show, and we were videotaping it. So all we saw was the mic clip in the middle of his face for the entire thing, you know, and it's like, you know, and he's like, why didn't you move the camera? Really? Really? We're going to do a completely different setup because you're retarded?
But I've seen so many people, like there's a guy at the Hollywood Improv. He's not super experienced, but he runs some shows there, and he doesn't know how to hold the mic. He puts his thumb over the front of the mic, and he talks into his thumb, and it distorts his voice.
Yeah. Really?
And every time I'm watching this idiot, I'm like, just fucking move your thumb.
What does he think? He's going to get stereo from that?
It's a cool look because he practiced this, you know. Holding the mic is
He practiced this?
Yeah, because I tend to hold the mic kind of femininely. I kind of have like feminine mannerisms. It kind of makes me look homosexual, I think. But anyway, so I like actually had to like concentrate on how I was going to hold the mic, because some people would hold it down at the bottom like it was a penis coming out of their hand, and then other people cup. I see Darren cup the actual head of it an awful lot.
That's because of his rap background.
Yeah,
it really is.
Beatboxes a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But I try to grab it right in the middle, and you know.
I'm glad we're talking about microphones. You know,
Anyway, well, these are
spit
important
and
things.
twist, I guess. You know, why do you have a bat here, by the way?
Oh, we have a
you know-
baseball show right before this
okay,
one. and we
that's
have
nice. I was
You haven't seen all the baseball shit in here?
hoping I wasn't the pinata.
This has been used in an actual
And
big
everything
league
is
game.
phallic for the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Dig.
Okay, well, we'll move on.
The microphone.
Okay, so you go back to your class.
Wait, I got an idea. Maybe that guy holds his thumb over it, because you know, like when you're watering the lawn and you like hold your thumb over the garden.
Yeah, that's what it's
comes
like.
out with more pressure, with more force. So maybe he figures, hey, these jokes will be twice as funny if I put my thumb over the microphone.
He's squeezing them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's crushing the little screen that's there.
Yeah.
You know?
And then the cord, you know, that's just dealing with all these things. So a professional does these things and the audience doesn't even notice.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to do that, the beginners screw up. They trip over the cord. They
Right.
get the cord stuck on the mic stand, and it's just, it makes you look ridiculous. It makes you look like a fool. And
Yeah.
these are things that you can teach people.
Yeah,
who
and
are
they're
beginners.
easy. Seinfeld talks about in one of the interviews he had. He said, first thing you want to learn is how to get on stage smooth and how to get off stage smooth. Get that down, you know. And he said the show just goes better, even for pros. If something goes awry as
Yeah,
you're going
yeah.
out there, kind of throws you a little off your game, and you know, on smooth, off smooth.
And it's
you
so
know?
funny how you bring that up, because, you know, I don't even think about that now. But in the beginning, you do. You think, okay, am I going to? If I was the MC, am I going to shake their hand? Am I not going to shake their hand? Do I introduce them and just stand there and wait for them? What do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And then after a while, you're like, no, just say my name, walk off. I'll walk. It's no big deal. You
Yeah,
know, we're
I
not
do
to-
MC training with people too, because I don't like most of the way MCs do, and I train my MCs. Once you introduce the person, you do the applause, and you back up a ways, okay?
Yeah.
And wait for the other person to come in and take the mic, because if they're late, you can now step forward and handle the situation, and never do a bump. Don't you initiate the bump or the high five or the hug or whatever. Let them, because I'm one of those comedians. When I was doing it, somebody did that to me. It threw me off my game. You introduced me. I'm just focused. I want to get to that microphone, and start the show. All of a sudden, somebody wants to do a handshake. All right, fine, okay, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the things I see all the time with MCs is that they don't know. Leave the comic alone. Let them initiate it, whatever they're comfortable with, because you're the frame, you're not the show.
Here's the way I used to teach my students about introducing people. Okay, I'll see what you think of this. I would say, first of all, you want to say their name last.
Yes.
Wait,
That's
this?
important.
Yeah, it's different. I noticed white comedy rooms completely different than black comedy rooms. Because the black comedy room, the MC is like, y'all start clapping, start clapping,
which is so
start
weird.
clapping. All right,
Start clapping right now, y'all. Come
y'all.
on.
Start clapping right now.
And by the time, and then he gives them a 30-second intro, and the audience is like, "Fuck."
Yeah,
Who is
and then
this
the
guy?
comedian will start from like the green room, like or from the parking lot, whatever. Like seriously, it's like a show kind of business kind of thing. Like it takes like a nice 3 minutes, and then they'll finally enter the stage, as opposed to the white rooms where it's like, "Go, Dick, how'd it be?"
Okay, you're right. I hate that start clapping now bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know how that got started. One guy came up with that, and it's caught on, and it really looks stupid, I think. But here's how I would say you introduce somebody. You say, you give their credits. You say something like, all right, you guys ready for the next comedian? Yeah, all right, this next guy coming to the stage is really talented. He's really funny. You've seen him on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He's got his own HBO special. Give it up for Darren Carter, the party starter. It's important that you say their name last.
Yes.
Some idiots go up there and they go, all right, Darren Carter's next, and you've seen him on, and then they give all their credits, and you're like, that's not the way it works, dummy. Okay, you say the name last, and then, although I don't like the mic in the stand, I would much rather they just hand it to me, but for beginners, I say put the mic in the stand
leave it in the
after you
stand.
say their name. When people erupt into clapping, and they're not looking at you, they're looking around the room for who's coming in. That's when you put the mic in the stand and then back up.
Right.
And then
Let the comedian walk in front of you if you're the MC.
right. And then and this is what I would say when you're being introduced, this is what you would do. This is a little trick. I would say when you go up, shake the hand of the guy who introduced you, and so the audience can see you, mouth the words, hey man, good job, or good job,
Nice.
or nice, and really make it obvious that you're saying good job.
Yes.
Because if they like that guy, you're showing the audience, hey, I'm a nice guy. I just gave him a compliment. Hey, good job, man. You're
Right.
funny. Good
Also
work.
makes you present too. You're
Yeah.
not just. I gotta say, there's nothing worse than a comedian walking right up to a microphone and going, "I hate bumper stickers."
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they just walk up. It's like, be present. That's one of the big things I teach my students is be here, be now. Do
Yeah.
the show that's in front of you, not the one in your head.
One time, this guy, he was really bombing, and then he introduced me, and he said something like, "This guy was a big inspiration, Darren Carter." And then of course I'm not going to lean in and mouth, "Thank you, man." I grab the mic and I go, "I don't know that fucking guy,"
I followed a guy that completely
or something like that. I said.
followed a guy that at the Westwood Comedy Store years ago, and he completely alienated the audience. And I got up after him and said, just waited for a moment, and said, "Do you know how they pay some farmers not to grow crops?"
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question real quick about opening lines.
Yes.
I've never had a good opening line. And it seems to me that, I mean, if there will come about times when there are moments when you can just walk up there and say a line like that and get a huge laugh.
Yes.
Those never seem to happen for me. But I've seen a lot of guys try to go up and start off with something that's supposed to get a laugh instead of saying hello to the audience.
Yeah.
And I would tell my students, I would say, for me, it works better when you say, hello, everybody, and then order them to do something. The most common thing would be big round of applause for your host or for all the
That's
other
nice,
comedians.
yes.
Or since my name is Dick and I know the audience is drinking and they're dying to yell out my name,
Yes.
I give them an opportunity to yell out my
That's
name right
nice.
off the bat. I go, hey, my name's Dick. Everybody say, hi, Dick. And the whole audience says
Dick.
it. And what that does is, and I would tell my students this, I would go, it's important that you immediately state to the audience subconsciously that you're in charge. And that
I agree.
you are in command, and they are going to respond to you at the appropriate time in the appropriate way, which will most likely be laughter, and you'll know when. And you're saying that all subconsciously by saying, do this.
And you're also saying to them, what you're doing is unifying the audience as a laughing force. In other words, the more things they do together, the more they're in rapport. So laughter is one of the things we hope they're going to do together. But if you get them to applaud or yell out "Dick" or something like, now you're unifying the crowd.
Yeah, gelling them together.
Exactly, and and so that to me is But people MCs overdo it. Let's hear it for the MC. Let's give a round of applause. You enjoying the show so far? Audience
the ladies, how the ladies look at good-looking ladies. Valentine's coming.
Or
they wear out the audience.
Yeah. My least favorite, which is I don't let any of my students do that. They never come on stage and say, "Hey, how you all doing tonight?" I don't let them do it, because if you go to an open mic, I mean, it's okay in a regular club where you got 3 comics and But if you're at a showcase club and you've got 15, 20, beginners to medium comedians, right?
Yeah.
And every one of them gets up and goes, "Hi, how you all doing this evening? Enjoying the show so far?" Next one gets up and goes, "Hi, how you all doing this evening?" Next one goes, "Hi, how you all doing?" Pretty soon, about 70, as an audience, you're going, "We're fine!
Yeah.
Leave us alone! Just do a show!"
Yeah. We were fine 3 hours ago. That's another thing I hate, too, is when the MCs... When the MC feels like it's their duty to bring the crowd down. When the MC's like, "All right, y'all, just hang in there, man. Y'all hanging in there?" I don't know why I make every MC black. But that's what I'm picturing.
There's a lot of bad black MCs. Let's be honest.
No,
there are.
That's what I call the air brakes of comedy.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We got hang in there. Y'all hanging in there? We got 3 more comedians. Or actually, they'll do the opposite. They'll go, "We got 13 more comedians. I'm just fucking with y'all. I'm just being serious. Okay, y'all, hang in there. All right, y'all being comedy hostages. Hang in there.
We only got 2 more comedians, y'all. Come on, don't leave.
Let's keep reminding them that you're not doing material.
Yeah. That happened to me last night. I did this show, and there was maybe 50 people in the crowd, and then I walked in with this in my mind with a lot of energy, and I was excited to be there and really happy. It was a laugh factory, and I was like, "Cool, man, names on the marquee, I'm feeling it, this is awesome." And then the comedian was on stage just "What's up, guys? I could have called this in on my phone," or whatever he said, and I was just like, "Ugh, get me out of here. I need to walk around and not see this right now." And he was good, whatever, that's his style, but I guess, but I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go up there like that. And I'm glad I didn't. And I had a really fun time up there.
Well, let's take a quick break. We got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back with
What's
Greg
your Twitter?
Dean.
Can we follow you on Twitter?
Yes, Greg Dean Comedy. Twitter, Facebook, everything. Greg Dean Comedy. YouTube for clips of my students, etc.
And I recommend this book. I haven't read it, but I own it.
I own it too. I got
Step by Step to Stand-Up Comedy by Greg Dean.
I bought my book at Samuel French on Ventura Boulevard. I'm sure it's still there. Samuel French Bookstore.
Then go pick it up.
Yeah, Laurel Canyon. It's a great bookstore. Go there anyways, and you'll love Greg Dean's book. I'm at Darren Carter on Twitter and
at Dangerous Dick. And we'll be right back. It's the Dick and Darren Comedy Podcast on the GoCast Network.
You're listening to the GoCast Network.
Hey, this is Gary Busey. Not sure where I am right now, but I know that I'm listening to the interview with Fraser Smith on the GoCast Network.
Hey guys, this is Danny Trejo, and when I'm in Huntington Beach, I go to my favorite restaurant, the Second Floor. The Second Floor has my favorite food, and man, you have to see their colossal burgers. You need a damn machete just to cut them. And they were just voted the best fusion art restaurant. Tattoo art from some of the biggest names like Jack Rudy and Rick Walters. Every Thursday night, art shows featuring legends to local artists come in, and you can meet them in person. You can buy the art right off the walls, and all sales go right to the artist. After 10 p.m. Thursday through Saturday, well-known DJs spinning an eclectic mix of music, and you gotta check out their late-night menu. Go visit them on the web, check out their great menu, upcoming art shows, and your favorite DJs. Located at 126 Main Street, downtown Huntington Beach. Second Floor. I'll see you there.
Hey, this is Gabriel Iglesias. The alternative Iglesias, not the one that sings romantic ballads. The silly one. That's right. I'm hanging here with my boy Roddy Piper on the Rod Pod. Listen up, or you're going to get choked out.
We're back on the GoCast Network.
Take my breath away. Is this the song you're talking
Play
about?
volleyball.
Makes me want to be in underwear.
Hey, I noticed out of the 4 of them, 3 of them had their shirts off, and the one guy didn't. The guy that went on to ER.
Huh.
I don't know his name.
why.
Anthony Edwards?
Yes. Probably because he wasn't as in shape as the rest of the guys.
Or maybe he had tattoos at the other one that he didn't want to show or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Hey, thanks for listening. This is the Dick and Darren Comedy Podcast on the GoCast Network. You can get us free on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, dickpodcast.com.
Can you give us a thumbs up on Stitcher? Give us a thumbs up and hit that share button, and that will let more people know. And if you do, obviously, iTunes, subscribe. And that helps us more than even listening. But if you're listening, thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you to Greg Dean, our guest. Greg Dean is a comedian, and a long time ago, 10 years ago, I guess, 13 years ago, he wrote this book, which I bought, and I have in a storage unit somewhere in California. It's called Step by Step to Stand-Up Comedy.
That's a horrible sales pitch.
I know. Well, I'm just being honest. Here's the thing. I buy books, because here's the thing about a book. It offers... It offers a promise of 2 things. One is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh, I'm going to enjoy this, reading this. And the second thing that it offers, the promise, is that you're going to learn something. That's why I don't buy fiction books. I always buy like how-to or things that are real, because I'm thinking, oh, it's going to offer me, I'm going to learn some shit.
Right.
But then I never read it, so obviously I didn't learn anything. I really should have, but here's why I wanted to thank you, Greg. When I was starting out in stand-up comedy, the first time I tried it, I was 20 years old. I just turned 45 today. Today's my birthday. So
Happy
that
birthday.
tells you how long ago.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. There was nothing out at that time. There was nothing to teach me how to do stand-up.
When was this?
When I was 20, whatever the math on that is. I think it was in the 80s.
There was books.
1990.
It's probably where you lived. You lived in Carrollton, Kentucky?
Yeah, I tried it in Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, there were no books there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And it went really...
was like-
typical joke about
But it's true,
Kentucky.
though.
Really?
Dude, it's
Guy
true.
who wrote a book about comedy? That's okay. I'm going to let it slide.
He knows. His book is sold in 49 states. He has one customer from Kentucky, and what did you do with it? I put it in a storage unit.
I'm going to read that sumbitch one of these
It makes me
days.
feel smart for 2 reasons.
I had my spit cup sitting on it, so it's got a bit of a stain. Anyway.
Wait, I got... Yeah, did you finish? I want to read something.
My point is, when I started stand-up, there was no comedy clubs in Louisville. I think there's 2 or 3 now, but at that time, there was nowhere for me to go to learn how to do this, and I just couldn't figure it out because I used to watch Richard Pryor, and I hadn't learned about the character voices thing yet. It just seemed like he was talking.
Yeah, it seemed like that.
It just seemed like a big story. Now, as I watch a Richard Pryor bit, I can go, oh, there's a chunk, there's a bit, there's a joke, there's an act out.
And he had a staff of writers.
Yeah.
George Washington and
Paul
Mooney. I mean, these guys would actually George Wallace. What George?
George Wallace.
Yes.
George Wallace.
Yes.
Told a story about that he would be there working for Richard and stuff, or just be there, and Richard would be up doing a show, and he'd be just blown out of his mind and stuff, and he'd just come up with this amazing bit. George would write it down, and when Richard was sober, he'd go, "Hey, man, I wrote a bit for you."
Wow, that's cool.
That's a great way to get a writing gig. Just have somebody who's a
Yeah, he wouldn't remember the bit, and he's back there scribbling away, going, "Yeah, man, that's a great bit."
That's
And
genius.
Richard go, "Man, you write it in my voice."
Even the way I speak, it's perfect.
Here's something I just opened the page. That's why I love books like this. It's like books that are informative, and especially if it's something you're interested in. And almost any page you open up, you gather some information from.
Well,
that.
real quick, right before you get that, let me finish my thought. I wanted to say thank you because when I was starting out, there was nothing, and so from 20 to 28, 8 years, I floundered and didn't know. I didn't do stand up. I would go to open mics a lot, but I didn't. And eventually, I bought Judy Carter's book,
Right,
which was the first comedy book about
Do you
stand
remember
up.
what it was called?
Stand up comedy, the book. I think.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I was like, I can remember seeing that on the shelf in the bookstore and being like, yes, and I never bought anything so quick in my life. And I bought that book, and I bought a book by Richard Belzer, which is, I think, called How to Be a Stand-Up Comedy, which was a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was bad.
It looked like the Zagat guide for restaurants. It was tall and thin and had about 50 pages, and I only got one usable thing out of Richard Belzer's. Because it was a joke book. It was a jokey how to be a stand-up. It wasn't real information.
It was a humor book, is what it was.
The only usable tip that I got out of Richard Belzer's book was, if you're in a mafia-run joint, don't make fun of the mafia guys, and don't make fun of alcohol because they're trying to sell alcohol. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that was worth $12.
When I was working there, I used to always do a toast 2 or 3 times during my show. The club owners loved me because I knew what they were doing. Yeah, toast, and everybody would drink. I got everybody drinking more, and everybody was like, club owner going, yeah, you can come back anytime.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah, it's a good tip.
If they make a lot of money when you're on stage, they're going to invite you back.
Absolutely.
They don't care what number of laughs you got. They care how much booze they sold.
Much booze. So I got everybody toasting all the time. A series of jokes and gags that followed, and stuff. And club owners like me. They go, oh yeah, come back. So
There was a country band that had something like that. The name of their song was something like we haven't sold a lot of records, but we've sold a lot of beer.
All right.
They're brothers. I forget the name of their brothers. They went on to write Red Solo Cup. Okay, here we go. If you think you're being here we go. If you think you've been going too fast, slow down. If you suspect you've been going too slow, speed up. If what you're doing isn't working, do something else. That's so true.
It seems simple, but I see a lot of guys not doing
It's
that.
true.
Well, one of the problems is the people that go out there and memorize the words. Yeah, this is a big piece of what it is I teach, is I don't let my students memorize their words. I think the human mind, my belief is the human mind remembers in pictures, sounds, and feelings. You tell a story, it's pictures, sounds, and feelings, and then we're expressing it with body language, vocal tone, and words.
Yeah.
It's not the words. It's part of, the way that you're expressing yourself. I mean, you're so animated, Darren. It's, wonderful to watch. So if they memorize their words, you have to talk it to yourself. Does that make sense? You have to say the words to yourself, then say them to the audience. Say the words to yourself, say them to the audience. And that's not the way the human mind works. We remember pictures, sounds, and feelings. I mean, that's to me one of the reasons Richard Pryor, Eddie Izzard, Bill Burr, I mean, we can go down the list of people that are really, really great at what they do. They live inside the sensory world of their material. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. They see, they hear, they feel. It's all around them. They point at it. They act out the parts. They're doing the act outs. They're in a location in their mind, and then the audience gets that same visual and auditory experience. They'll see the same kind of a room. So, I mean, because I was watching Bill Cosby, I wanted to quote Bill Cosby, and I got out his old concert, Bill Cosby himself, where he talks about, people getting drunk and throwing up. And, I like the joke about them putting their forehead on the porcelain of the toilet after vomiting and going with their forehead on the porcelain going, thank you for being cool. It was a kind of a tactile joke. Yeah. And I remember a bathroom and a toilet and towels and I remember a bathroom. Okay, as soon as I put in the DVD to watch it again, and the first frame came up, it was an empty stage, a microphone, and a chair. I went, holy shit, I don't remember that stage, that chair, and that microphone. I remember him hanging out with his kids at his house. I remember him in that toilet, puking. Yeah. I remember the different environments he was in, not the actual reality environment that was there. And I started thinking, how does he do that? And then it took me years to figure out he sees, hears, and feels everything he's talking about and express. He doesn't memorize his words. And when you were talking about people that drone through their shows, if you memorize your words, you got to go all the way through the show. You can't interrupt it, or else you'll go completely blank. So if the audience isn't laughing, they just drone through their show. And I tell my students, if what you're doing isn't working, do anything else. Now that might not work too. So now you know two things to avoid.
But that's super important.
It is.
Do something else if it's not working.
And riffing is a really good thing. Talk to the audience. Reconnect with them.
Yeah.
I tried one of those techniques recently where I slowed it down. And then I forget the line. I forget what it was. It'll come to me tonight when I perform. But just slowing it. It was weird. Like I said at the same pace the whole time. It got a good laugh. For some reason, I slowed it down, and it got a bigger laugh.
Yeah. I mean, I have that happen to me a lot of times, too. Sometimes it's just because I need to fill more time. And I'm like, I'm going to talk slower tonight.
And all of a sudden you start killing. Oh, my gosh, I'm onto something.
But let's go back to the words real quick. When I used to teach my students, and all the time, any younger comedian will come up to me and go, is this funny? And I always went, I don't know.
Oh, good for you.
I don't know.
That's my number one issue with comedy teachers. I started teaching stand-up comedy. I was the first person that I know of that had a stand-up comedy school with a curriculum. And I started in 1982. And I always taught, a technique. I say, here, do this, try this. And then I just got better at understanding the technique and teaching it. Now, more people, it was me. And then about 8 years later, Judy Carter publishes a book and comes out and starts to do some things as well. And I was still writing on my book, trying to perfect it. And wow, I just went completely blank. Sorry.
Well, I got a quick question about Judy Carter's book. She had a really flashy look on her cover, and yours is green and very, I don't know, I don't want to say, it's not flashy is what I'm saying. Did you ever look at her book and go, God, look at her ugly book. It's all flashy. My book is so much more
Actually,
professional.
Judy Carter was okay because she gave an attempt at, at doing technique as well to a certain degree. I don't agree with how she approached it and stuff. But that was my point earlier.
Here's why I'm asking, because when I saw yours on the shelf, my immediate thought was, oh, this guy is more informational.
Yeah.
He's, it's got a foreword by Steve Allen.
Right.
He's more, you know what I mean?
Steve Allen offered to write it, by the way, called me up and offered to write it.
Oh, wow.
I ran him to a comedy festival, and he said, yeah, send me your book. I sent the book, he read it, and then he called me up and said, I'd like to write a foreword for your book. And yeah. Thank you. Well, back to your point about not telling people what's funny. That's my issue with stand-up comedy classes is teachers, and I think a lot of professional comedians have this issue with them, is they say, okay, you put up a show, and then I'll tell you what's funny and what's not funny. And that, for me, is a huge problem in comedy workshops. The teacher doesn't know. So good for you to know that, for me, there's only two places to go to figure out what's funny. One, yourself. Do you think it's funny? Two, an audience.
Yeah.
Don't go to your friends and relatives because what they think you want is criticism, and they'll criticize the joy right out of the show.
It's true. That's why when they go, is this funny? It's like already when someone says that to me, it's like it puts you in a judging mode as opposed to like hanging out laughing and having a good time.
There's 2 points I used to make to them. I would say this is really important. A, just because it's funny doesn't mean the audience is going to laugh at it. And B, audiences often laugh at things that aren't funny. It's the way it's done. It's the moment. It's the way it happened that triggers them to laugh. And you can write funny things all day long, but that doesn't mean any of them are going to get a laugh from an audience in a live situation. That's one thing. And then the other thing I would say is, I would go, look, first of all, I don't know. I would say there's good jokes and bad jokes. I would say leave funny out of it. A good joke makes people laugh. A bad joke could be funny as shit, but nobody laughs at it. So you want good jokes, okay? You want jokes that make the audience laugh.
For me, I just always rely on joke structure. In other words, for me, when you get in front of an audience, I mean, really, when you first put material out there, even professional comedians, you're making a guess.
Right.
You know,
you don't know if they're going to laugh.
You don't know if they're going to laugh. You got some time to work it out, even if it is a good joke, et cetera, et cetera. You're making a guess. That's what beginners don't realize. We're all just making a guess.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that I can help people with is to make sure that what you're putting up in front of people are jokes.
Yeah.
They have joke structure. I mean, I go to the open mics around town here and I'll go, okay, that's not a joke. That's a premise. That's a premise. That's a premise. Oh, that's a joke. Boom. A laugh comes. Because they don't understand joke structure, which is one of the things I cover in the book is joke structure, so you can start to understand what constitutes a joke.
Here's the way I would say I write my jokes on stage. I think of something that I think is funny. I write it down. I go to an open mic or wherever I'm going to try the joke. I look at it and I go, oh, this isn't very funny. And I go up on stage and I say it and there's nothing, no laughter. And then in that moment after where they should be laughing, I'm like, I mumble something else, and then they laugh, and then I'm shocked, and I'm like, really? What was the funny part? What did they laugh at? I'm like, my whole act is made up of things that I mumbled after the jokes that I thought they would laugh at. My whole act is that way. And so when people go, is this funny? I go, man, you got to say that in front of an audience, and then you'll find where the laugh is.
Yeah, and that's the only place you can go to really know, and it's going to vary. One of the things I tell my students is professional comedians, especially like headliners that are going to be doing 45 to an hour or so, bomb every show. There's always a joke or bit that isn't getting what you expected it to get.
Yeah.
Every show we handle it. You know, we know what to do and move on and got another bit that does work, so on and so forth. But every show, some portion of a longer show is just not going to work correctly. And so people go, I don't want to bomb. Everybody bombs. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's the professionals bomb every show. It may just be one or two jokes, and then they move on or something. But that's an interesting point to bring about to help beginners to get them, get a logical handle on it.
I saw a guy last night. I was at the Laugh Factory. After that, I went to this place called The Parlor, and there was a guy that was doing really well, and then he started killing, really killing. And the guy that had to follow him, I could tell, was getting a little antsy, like, ugh, I'm next. And that guy was killing, and then he switched characters and was because he was making fun of Alabama people, and he how they talk about football, and he's like, I don't want to be on some airplane with some guys like, oh, football, whatever he's doing. Like, it was great. I was like, man, this guy this is a catchy thing the way he's doing this. And then one of his punchlines, he goes, I don't want to talk to somebody who sounds like they're going to vomit, like, and the crowd was loving it. And then he started making fun of the way young black kids talk, and they pull their pants down, and then the crowd felt really weird about laughing, like, it's kind of racial, like, I don't know. And he actually started bombing right there. And I remember thinking, like, well, that guy has it easy. He's going to follow him now and not be as nervous. But then the guy brought it back and started getting applause and laughter. And it's exactly, what you just said. It was the ebb and flow. Like, he was killing, and then awkward, this is weird. And then he's killing again. And then he ended on a really sweet thing about, because he just had a kid and how we should all have love in our life. And it was like a little nice ending. And
that's nice.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, Greg. Can you?
No, actually, we're not. We're not running out of time.
We're not running out of time? Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Can you talk about joke structure?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. We are running out of time. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
That was joke structure. Thanks.
See, there you go. Boom.
So, jokes in the essence of jokes, all jokes, and I can give you examples of it in movies and sitcoms and act outs and stuff. But let me just go to the basic one-liner. It's really two interpretations of one thing at the center of all jokes. Let me do kind of linguistic approach to this. Like if you have a joke like. My wife's an excellent housekeeper. When we got divorced, that bitch kept the house. Okay.
That's great.
Now, there's a thing, you assume housekeeper means what?
Like, vacuuming, dusting.
Yeah, exactly. That's your assumption. That's one of the mechanisms.
Yeah.
You want the whole setups to get them to buy into that false assumption. What I call a target assumption. Okay, and then the reinterpretation is that the other interpretation of housekeeper is she kept the deed. She got the deed in the divorce, and she kept the actual physical property. All jokes follow that pattern, you see. And like in act outs, the difference, I have 3 points of view inside of an act out. Narrator, who sets it up, and then there's self, which is you inside the scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then there's any other character, anything that isn't you. Okay, well, the two interpretations come from the two different points of view having completely different interpretations of the same thing. Like recently, I was in San Francisco, and a really aggressive bum came up to me and said, "Hey, give me $10." I looked at him and said, "Wow, when'd you get a raise?" Now, what I just did there is I started from narrator, talked about where I was, then I went into character, which is the bum, and then I went to self, which is me talking to the bum.
Yeah.
Right? And the connector there, that middle piece, that thing, one thing with two interpretations, is him asking for money. He's asking for money because he doesn't have a job. And I'm treating him asking for money as his job.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as the housekeeper joke.
Dick's
two interpretations of one thing. I mean, I love your work, Darren.
Thank you.
I like my women like I like my what, because what you really do is kind of you give them the setup, women.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they supply the idea for the punch. And then you have to find the connector. Does that make sense? You have to find the thing that's in between that they both have in common, and then come up with something short and quick to say about it. I'm amazed at that particular structure. I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, when you did, I like my women like and somebody yelled Bible, and you go, yeah, she's waiting for me in my, hotel room. I was like, how did he do that? How did you find that connector between those two things so quick? I mean, I even yelled something at you. I yelled accordion.
Yeah. And do you remember what I said?
Yeah.
Fingered by Weird Al Yankovic.
That's right. Hey, and I always wanted you to do. I had one which is I love my women.
I like my women like I like my
coffee.
Full of my Irish cream.
What I had was ground up and in the freezer.
Oh, yeah. All over my lap. Yes. You know what somebody yelled at this last weekend was astronomy book. What would you say for astronomy book, Dick?
seeing stars on my back or something like that. I
Wow,
don't know.
yeah. You're no longer a
On her
virgin.
back seeing stars. I don't
I
know.
don't get it.
Doesn't make sense.
I like my women like my astronomy books. Seeing stars.
What'd you say?
Seeing stars is good.
What'd you say?
On my back, I didn't get that part.
Looking up at the stars. On your back, looking up at the stars. That's why I'm not you, Darren. Anyway, go ahead. What did you say that was funny?
Here's what you would say.
I hate it. This is what Darren does every fucking show. Dick, let me put you on the spot. Show how not funny you are.
Dick, I've hired. This is actually an intervention.
What would you say? I don't know. What do you?
This is intervention. Greg Dean is here to teach you. No. Here's what Dick would say. I like my women like I like my astronomy books in my storage facility.
I ain't gonna read them, but I like buying them.
I feel smart. I feel like a smart feller. No, here's what I said. I go, I like my women like my astronomy books. And I said, thick, leather bound, and pictures of Uranus. I loved it.
How do you do
I
that?
don't know. That one, okay, I'll tell you how I did that one. That one, because somebody a long time ago yelled out rocket ship, and I went straight to Uranus. So when they said,
Oh, nice.
So when they said, astronomy book, I pictured an astronomy book. It's probably going to be really big, big. So I said thick. Then I pictured it looking like, something you'd see in a nice library, like
Right.
leather bound. And then of course, when, one of the planets is called Uranus, and also, rectum. It just came together. It was just
No. See, what you do is you visualize.
Visualize, there you go.
You
Yeah.
see the actual thing that's there, and then you find the details. And so it's thick. Okay, there's women that can be like thick women, and and if it's got leather bound, little bondage going on here, that's nice,
Yeah.
and very, and that's really remarkable. I was just blown away. I really was. I was, sitting with Gayla going, geez, did you watch what he did? That was, my wife is really funny and
That's
really
right. Keep
good
the
as
show
well.
going. We're not cutting it. Keep
Now-
telling me how great I am.
Now let's talk about why that bit works so good.
Oh yeah, keep going.
Real quick.
Because it's
I
got
like
perfect joke structure, and even if he isn't, he's appearing to improvise it. In other
Right.
words,
That's it.
he has some that, if somebody yells, they reoccurring, like you said, my beer, because it's in
Yeah,
front of them.
there's about 10 things people yell out.
Right, but
yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They still think you're improvising.
Right,
they
right,
think
right.
you're on the spot and you're making it up. But when I watched, for
yeah.
like a whole week, Thursday
Yeah,
through
yeah.
Sunday, watched a whole bunch of his shows. Yeah, one or two would be repeats, but the rest of them, you'd
Yeah.
have to come up 5, 6, 7, 8 brand new ones off the top of your
the
head.
time.
And
Oh,
when
yeah.
audiences witness the act of creation, it's always funnier
Right.
than an act of recreation.
That's why improv always works.
That's one of the because the audience knows you're on the spot.
Right.
And
I used to say to people, the audience thinks that they know when you're doing prepared material and when you're improvising.
Mm-hmm.
And when they think you're doing prepared material, they expect a home run with every punchline.
Right.
But if they think you're making it up on the spot, like doing crowd
Right.
work or doing his bit, just if you take a swing, they're like, "Oh yeah, good try, good swing." They give up the laugh. That's why if you go see an improv troupe,
Have you seen my late show Saturday? That's not true.
like a seasoned improv,
They did not give a
a
flying
seasoned
fuck.
comedian, if you went to an improv troupe show, you'd be
Yeah.
like, "This is boring. These guys aren't very funny," even though they're probably killing the audience because the audience knows that they went to see an improv troupe. They know they're
Right.
making it up.
Right.
And there's a big trick in improv, and that is, and Darren does that with his bit, where he thinks the audience thinks that they're making it hard on him by shouting out things, but they're actually making it easy on him because they're giving him the stuff to riff off of.
they're giving him his punchline.
Right. I mean,
The idea for the punchline is to find that connection between, and even in improv, Del Close, the great improv teacher, would say the number one thing that improvisers need to do is find the connections. But they're saying the same thing I'm saying. Even in improv, there's two interpretations of one thing, and Del Close was like going, find the connections between the different things, and it'll hit a big laugh. Yeah.
I got one for you. Okay, you said we talked about joke structure, and then you did your thing about your hey, my wife was a housekeeper, my ex-wife.
Right.
Dick has a perfect joke for that, like that.
I do.
He says him and his. See if you could maybe guess the punchline and
Sure.
see where he's going. You want to try that, Dick?
I don't know the joke.
I'll tell you right now, but don't say the punchline. Just tell him the setup
Okay.
about about role.
Oh, my girlfriend's kind of a big girl. In bed, we do a lot of role playing.
Wow. Okay, so my assumption role-playing means acting out things.
Right.
Right? So the connector's role-play, and I need another interpretation for role. So you roll around. You roll her in cellophane.
Yeah.
You see, am I getting close?
Close.
There's got to be some kind of a roll that's going on.
Okay, I gave it to you in the setup.
Okay.
My girlfriend's kind of a big girl.
Oh, shit. So it's rolls of fat.
Right.
Oh,
so
okay.
I say,
Good.
and I'm a big guy, so I go, I play with her rolls, she plays
with
mine.
my rolls.
And then I
Nice.
do an act out of squeezing the rolls, and
Right.
it gets a big laugh.
Oh, that's great. That's
And,
nice.
it's
I
a-
like eating her rolls. Little tag for you there.
Let's go. Thank
Well,
you. Hey,
see,
I got a tag from
yeah.
Greg Dean.
See,
Write
but,
it down,
but
put it in the
again,
storage
I'm going to
locker.
write that shit down.
once we know we're doing with two different interpretations of roll, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you saw me go through the process, and then finally, okay, rolls of fat, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's hard for comedians to make me laugh a lot of times because I'm like going, you did that. I'd be going through a series of rolls. I might not exactly, but I'd be ahead. It's the people that shock me. When I kind of go, I didn't see that coming at all. Like you, again, you're I
Misdirection.
like our women like I like my.
Thank you.
I don't see him coming, and you had me laughing
That's
really,
what's
really
fun
hard.
because you know, being in the business as long as I have and as long as you have, it's like it's one of those things where like I don't want that when we talked about stealing the joy. Like I don't. That was one of those things I did notice. There was a period of my time where it was hard to find some comedians, not comedy funny, but just. You just see it coming, and it makes it.
Yeah.
But then again, I got to say, once I got to the higher level and started seeing people working at a higher level, it makes it a lot more fun. Especially if I go in there with the attitude of I'm going to have fun and watch these guys. You know.
See, for me, it makes it much more robust. It's like taking a music
Yeah.
appreciation class and then listening to a concert or something, going, oh, look at that transition.
Yeah.
For me, at first, when people take my class, it ruins comedy shows for them because it turns into an analytical. Oh, look at the reveal is not at the end of that punchline.
And those
There's,
ki- yeah, and
they're
I found
talking
out-
through their
yeah.
laughs. They're doing all these
Yeah.
bad, It ruins it, but as time goes on, they come up with more appreciation because they're like, "Oh,
Right,
that was
right.
really good. Look at that. Oh my goodness, that guy's doing it this way. I never thought of doing it that way. I haven't, because they're identifying the techniques, and now, because of my book and my workshops, comedians can have language for the things. No, I didn't invent anything. I invented nothing. Maybe some language to identify. What I did was identify the techniques and tricks and principles that successful comedians are using, and then I turned those into exercises. So if my students go through the exercises, they result in a skill.
Yeah.
And that's my approach to the whole thing is get to the skill level.
If people want to buy your book, is there a certain price for it? Or it's probably various prices. For it.
Yeah, it's right
Ballpark figure.
You're right around $20 on Amazon.com is the
That's
best
cool.
place to get it.
You can
Or
also-
Samuel French.
You can look for stand-upcomedy.com.
Yeah, it's my website.
Remember to hyphenate stand-up.
Dick-
And his Twitter and Facebook is Greg Dean Comedy.
Dick doesn't realize it, but Dick's probably paid at least $10,000 for that book. If you add up,
because of my storage.
if you add up the first time you bought it, and then the monthly fee that you paid.
Yeah. Don't ever get a storage unit. That's the biggest ripoff.
Oh, no,
ever.
no.
And you can't get out of it.
My wife is a collector.
Oh.
And so she went, no, we'll just put it in there for 1 month. It's only $1 for 1 month. 6 years later.
Yeah. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to when we were talking about improv real quick and being in the moment. We mentioned Robin Williams earlier. Robin Williams is the classic example of two things that I've said tonight, which was, one, be in the moment and make them think that you're improvising, even
Yes.
if you're not.
Yep.
And two is do character voices,
Yep.
which that is his act right there. Character voices and pretending to be in the moment. Now, I'm sure Robin Williams improvises a lot, but he doesn't improvise everything he does, but he makes it seem like he does.
And that's the beauty. What I tell my students, the only thing that in a way I want to fool an audience, is I want it to appear that you don't have a show. That you're just telling them about your life or your day or your relationship or, what it's like, or boss, or your thoughts about what's in the news and stuff.
Darren does that.
Yeah, and so you don't want them. I agree with you, and that's why that appearance of improv heightens a show that even has a show. I know. I started with Robin.
Real quick, about Darren. Darren, his act is pretending like he's breaking away from his show.
Right.
He's got what I call a lot of hard jokes, which are, set up punchline.
We have a phone call.
And I don't want to take any phone calls. The system sounds shitty here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's terrible. I've been listening to this bullshit all day, and I'm sick to death of their phone system here at GoCast. What was I just saying? Darren's whole act is he'll do a joke.
Yeah.
And then he'll break away from it and go, "Could you guys laugh? It's weird if you guys don't laugh. What are you guys doing?" So his whole act is like acting like he's not he's breaking away from it, and I really like that. He does that really good.
Yeah, because that changes the point of view from inside the show to outside the show.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm inside my show. Oh, now I'm outside my show talking about my show. Now I'm inside my show. And again, that changes the point of view, and that changes the interpretation from inside to outside. And again, we're talking about the show. It's always the same structure for jokes. I mean, I like that as well. Another nice technique that you do that, I'm sitting there, like I said, when I watch a show, I go, oh, wow, look at that one. That one's nice. That was, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen that one before. And that was one of them, inside the show, outside the show. Nicely done.
Now, we're throwing out a lot of comedy terms here, and I'd like to, for the uninitiated, go through a lot of them. And this is how I used to explain joke structure and continue to. I would say this is the way any joke is set up. Okay, you got your premise or your setup, that's the beginning part, where you're explaining to the audience what you're talking about. Next is timing. Timing is the amount of time that it takes the audience to process that information you just gave them. For the misdirection or for whatever. You're saying housekeeper.
Right.
It only takes a split second for everybody in the audience to understand that.
Right.
And it's important for the entire audience to get the joke all at once, for them to laugh all at once. So you really got to spell it out for them. But anyway, so you got setup, and then timing, and then punchline. That's the funny part that makes them laugh. And then there's act out. Now, Darren is a master of act outs. One of the things I learned from Darren is if you're doing something like dancing around or whatever the act out is, continue to do it for as long as they're laughing, and it will stretch out the laughter.
Yeah.
And because I used to just deliver the punchline and then stare at the audience.
That is one of the hardest things for me to teach.
And it would be like so quick.
That technique, I call that deregulation. Deregulate the show. To me, a show, it needs to be recreated, regenerated, reinvented for each individual audience. In other words, that's an example of it. You're doing this dance. One night, it might just go, ha, you move on.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can get them to laugh for, 30 seconds or, a minute. Who knows? But when you allow yourself to work off the vibe of the audience, what I call being in a feedback loop with the audience, you're inventing that show for them. This show is never, it'll be the same material, but it won't be the same show next time. Yeah. And people talk about comedy timing, and a little different than you're talking about. People say, well, what about comedy timing? You teach comedy timing? No, nobody can teach you comedy timing. Comedy timing is in that feedback loop between you and an audience. And since you're different every time, the audience is different, the situation's different every single time, the timing should be a little minutely different every single show. That's why it's so important, and comedians can't talk about it. How do you talk about something that needs to be invented and happen in the moment right now for this group of people, and it's never there again? You need to reinvent it for the next show.
It's so true. It's like, like something that's why we've seen people do something where they're going on too long with a certain thing, because in their mind they're remembering how much it killed previous times.
And they're in the past. They're thinking about the previous show. They're not with the group of people in front of them.
I did a show in Visalia at the Fox Theater, and it was a really long show. They had way too many comedians, and it was sponsored, I think, by Corona or something, because there was a giant blow-up Corona bottle on stage. And and this is when I first came up with the idea of Darren Carter, party starter, started singing it on stage. And it was working great until this point. And this particular show, my wife was in the audience. Long show, let's say it was a 4-hour show. The crowd was tired at the 3-hour mark, at least. So throughout the audience, you saw a lot of empty chairs from the people that had left. And I was the last one on. In fact, the Corona bottle was kind of deflating, kind of looked like a flaccid penis starting to bend over. And I was up there gung-ho, like, I'm going to bring the energy up. I'm the closer. Plus my wife's out there. I don't want to impress her. So I was going, Darren Carter, party starter. Yeah, we having fun. No, we're not having fun. And I would do my next bit, Darren Carter, party starter. And it just wasn't whatever. And I thank you, good night. And I'm all sweaty and just walking off like, ugh. It was tough. So we get in the car, we're driving, and my wife this is awesome. She goes, it's totally silent, right? We're driving, and she's like, Darren, if they're not laughing, if they're not responding, why do you keep saying Darren Carter, party starter? You weren't starting any fucking parties. You look stupid. And I'm telling you, that was a great lesson. Like don't fake it when it's not real, And also don't say that. Don't say your catchphrase too many times, otherwise it sounds really annoying.
Leave it to your loved ones to tell you that.
And it's
right?
so true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But you do start parties. I've seen Darren at a million shows where the guys up in front of him are eating a lot of shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's going nowhere, and you just think, well, this is going to be horrible. And Darren goes up and wins them over.
And not just
It's mostly because Dick features for me.
you know, it's
Kidding, Dick. I'm kidding.
He's not kidding.
I'm kidding. Dick gets him going.
woo, take a shot.
Hey-o.
Oh, that's where you.
It's my role on this show. But,
Play with Dick's roles.
I got a lot of roles. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about the way comedy is different around the world. I went to Japan one time, and every single television show in Japan has got like a Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin type of setup.
Right, they do pairs, teams.
Right, they have the older Japanese guy who's like the straight man, and then they got the guy who's speaking Japanese. He's usually a kid.
And those are stereotypes in Japan. In other words, there are other form of humors called rakugo, which is storytelling. And they have a fan and a towel, and they sit on a platform, and then they tell the same stories, like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, that's of their culture. And then they use these props in different ways to play all these stereotypical characters in their thing. And there is no, I mean, it's just starting. There is no stand-up as we know it. There is those teams, and there's very specific characters that are part of the culture that everybody recognizes, you know, like with the lovers or the bragging coward, etc. They have those characters, and it's very cultural. One of the reasons it's different in other cultures, the reasons humor is so different, is if every joke is based on the audience making assumptions, right? We either make them already. We have assumptions in our head, and then the punchline shatters that assumption by giving us another interpretation, right? Or we set it up. The assumptions are completely different in a different culture. Japanese assumptions about everything are just completely different. So American humor isn't going to work. My wife found that out when we went to London. She was doing the Comedy Store over there, and the first time she got up, man, she was struggling.
Why? What would be an example?
She killed because English assumptions about things. My wife's black, so she does some stuff about mixed relationships, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really care about that." Oh, okay. You know, because they've been over it for a long time, right? And
they've had a lot of bad relationships. Countries wanted to break up with them.
Yeah, you know, and they see
countries wanted to break up with them.
They would refer to us Americans as warmongering baby killers.
Ooh.
Yeah, really, you know, and so
nice.
You know, it was
That's a hell of an intro.
Yeah, I know.
What would be another example of that? Because I know her really well after watching her. What were some of the jokes that didn't do well in that culture, at least at first?
All the stuff about about mixed relationships. What did work is her dad's hair with the big afro.
The big afro,
right?
Yeah.
That killed because that's universal, and so that we started there and stuff. Her parts of her shows were, some stuff about L.A. or America, and they're like, they just didn't care, And we
how about the stuff about when she was a clown and she'd go to the clown stuff?
No, not too well. That didn't do too well. The audience doesn't. I know they don't have that kind of party clown system in the UK.
Wow.
So her talking about
that's
right, and there's in Europe, clowns are completely. In America, clowns are considered children's entertainment. I know this because I used to be a clown. I used to be a Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey clown.
Oh, wow.
And I lived on a train and rode elephants every single show. I'll tell you the story.
I want to hear all this, too.
Yeah,
We're running out of time.
Sometime I'll tell you the story about when I was in an elephant stampede.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
By the way, you're the second Ringling Brother clown that we had on the show. We had another one on. I don't remember his name, but Darren goes.
Oh wait! Yeah! I totally remember.
Darren goes. Ask this guy.
I remember that. That was a 2-hour. That was a 2-hour podcast. It was with Charlie Viracola.
Yeah.
Who's a very serious gentleman. I mean, he was getting on some. He was super serious on the show. Like it was really good. And he was talking about Los Angeles, where the devil's breath comes out, and this town will, eat you up and spit you out. I mean, it was really good. And now he builds props for Carrot Top and he's been on Letterman and shit like that, and he was kind of bitter a little bit, not bitter, but in a good way. He got his shit together. He's like they, television wasn't buying my character, so I said, fuck it, I'm gonna go buy a $10 suit at the thrift shop, and I will give them what they want. They want me to stand still and tell jokes, I'll do it. And guess what? I started getting booked on late night. Oh God, I need a cigarette right now. And then I go, hey, used to be a, and then Dick had an audition the next day for Ringling Brothers, and I go, Dick, ask him. And then Dick goes,
I go, hey, I heard you used to be a Ringling Brothers clown. He got pissed.
he was like, clown, I'm more than that, man. I do a lot of things.
And I was like, yeah, but I got a lot of questions I want to ask you, so can we go over that? And he was not happy. So
Yeah.
I'd love to have somebody that would come on and actually talk
fucking
about that.
pumped
You
the
know,
brakes
I'll
on that
talk
one.
about. See,
It
what
depressed
my-
me so much I didn't go to the audition.
My point was that in Europe, clowns are revered because they're some of the most talented. I mean, they play instruments, they do gags,
Yeah.
they're mimes, these people have. I've been worked with clowns, European clowns, the most talented people I have ever worked with. They juggle, they do magic, they do
They do
unbelievable
original
stuff.
bits.
Yeah, and
Which
some
clowns
of them
in America don't.
Yeah, it's amazing. Over there, they're revered and they can make a living. Here in America, you do children's parties.
Yeah. But
So,
Ringling
and
Brothers,
Gales-
that's the top of the line as far
Top
as
of
I'm
the line.
concerned.
So I started at the top of the line and went down from there.
Imagine if you didn't know this, and because like you look out, like wow, there's a whole world out there. Like you're like, hey, I get a lot of respect. And you go to London, hey, I get a lot of respect here. You know? Yeah, what was I thinking? I'm doing grand openings in Fresno.
Greg, we got to go. Will you
All
come
right.
back?
I absolutely enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it too.
Next time when you dress as a clown, we will respect you.
Thanks.
One time I got in a. I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
I
please
was just
tell
going to say I got in a car wreck when I was coming from a clown gig, and I had to, sitting there talking with a cop, going, "Yeah, this guy, it was a hit and run, and was he?"
He's like, you got anybody else back there in your trunk?
I got hit by this clown yesterday. Greg Dean, his book is called Step by Step to Stand-Up Comedy with the foreword by Steve Allen. I own this book. I recommend it. He's also got a DVD called Greg Dean Inside the Stand-Up Studio. You can find all of his stuff at his website, which is stand-upcomedy.com, or go to Greg Dean Comedy on Twitter or Facebook. Add this guy.
If you like this episode, share it, man. Retweet it, share it. Let your other comedian friends know about it. Let your friends know about it. Let your funny friends know about it, even if they're not comedians.
Check out that Charlie Vericola episode and over 200 episodes that we have in our archives. And stay tuned because the GoCast Network news is coming up next. Thank you very much, Greg Dean. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, buddy.
Jansen, for running aboard. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Hey, if I was fat and because I'm a redhead, I'd have cinnamon rolls. Get your jollies.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dick, and Darren Carter
Comedy podcast.
Get your jollies. Gong.